all good teaching and learning starts with a bit of a pre-assessment. And a pre-assessment helps us identify where our learners are. And if you came to the last two sessions, you know that I do like to identify where you are with your thinking and your knowing. What we're going to ask you to do today, I'm just going to show you the next slide. This little slide shares the audit tool, and I'll want to talk you through it briefly so you can get a sense of how you can interact with this tool. You'll see on the left column there are 6 statements populated down the side. There's defining gifted and talented, there's developing a team to support diverse learners, there's the identification process, curriculum provision, building positive and productive relationships with parents, and documentation, including tracking and monitoring. They are 6 big pieces of a whole school approach. Okay, they're the 6 kind of key items. Across the top, I've got 4 columns, a little bit like a SWOT analysis. We do this part really well, we could improve here, we're open to this thinking, or we have blockers here. And what I do with this tool is I ask school leadership teams to fill this out so I can get a sense of where are you in your journey around provisioning for gifted learners. What we're going to do today, and again, just factoring in your immediate thinking and where you are with what you know about your school's journey and where your school is now, we're going to focus on 3 key provocations or statements, and they are going to be: where is your school positioned in terms of defining giftedness and talent? Where is your school in relation to identification processes? And where is your school in relation to building positive and productive relationships with parents? We're not going to do all 6 of the key areas. We're just going to look at 3 of them. And we're going to do this through the poll. So what I would like you to think about, for example, with the first one, defining giftedness and talent, at your school, we do this well, or we could improve, or we are open to, or we have blockers here. So we want you to share your current thinking around finding gifted and talented, and select through the poll process where you are, where you feel comfortably positioned. We can see that 3% of participants think that they do the definition well. There's some thinking there around, look, we kind of know about it, but we could improve. And there's also, you know, a healthy percentage where there are blockers. We're looking at 16% of participants that are saying that we've got some blockers here. So what we do with the audit tool is we actually have the leadership team identify, well, what are the blockers? What are we open to? What are the things that we could improve? So for our participants today, thank you. This has given us a really good insight into where our audience right now is positioned. And there's a really nice, you know, feeling around that, you know what, we could improve that. And so that's fantastic. So the next one is the identification process. So at your school, is this something that you do really well? Is it something that you could improve on? Are you thinking, we're actually open to some of the things that we've talked about, or we'd love to do all that, but we've got some blockers? Engage with that provocation. 12% of our audience feel comfortable that we are identifying really well. And as I said, if you attended some of our previous sessions, we've talked about whole cohort screening, we've talked about early years identification. So when we talk about the ID process, yeah, we're not just talking about our 5s and 6s or our year 4s, we're talking about everyone being able to show what they know. 41% are indicating, do you know what, we actually could improve. And there's a bigger percentage this time around the blockers. So this tells me that perhaps there isn't that shared understanding of giftedness and talent, because essentially if we don't have that as our starting point, there are definitely going to be blockers around the identification process. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing. We'll go to the last one, which is for this instance, how are you positioned with your parents and conversations with and building positive and productive relationships with parents? What's your initial thought? Okay, so when we're talking about engaging with parents, we're talking about engaging with parents in a positive and productive way in relation to gifted education. So 46% of participants believe that their school does this really well. 32% believe that they could improve in this space. 16% are showing that we're open to some new ideas, and a very small percentage have blockers. So, I mean, that's fantastic. If schools are having those really positive conversations about gifted education, then I applaud that, because that's something that isn't usually very common. As you can see, looking at this audit tool, you can get a sense of how you can start working as a school team around, well, what are our next steps forward if we can clearly identify where we are right now. All right, so thank you very much. Really illuminating feedback, and I hope that that was, helpful for you as well, to see how you could start looking at the beginning thoughts of a whole school approach.